Wednesday, but today you get to because Monday was Labor Day. So we took the day off to honor all those who work hard for us and ourselves who work hard. So, anyhow, I found a book that it's a little bit long, but it's so much fun. Remember that guy who wrote Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory? Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? Roald Dahl. He wrote a whole bunch of children's books, and some of them are a little weirder than others, and this one definitely qualifies. It's The Enormous Crocodile, written by Roald Dahl and illustrated by Quentin Blake. The Enormous Crocodile. In the biggest, brownest, muddiest river in Africa, two crocodiles lay with their heads just above the water. One of the crocodiles was enormous. The other one was not so big. "Do you know what I would like for my lunch today?" said the enormous crocodile. "No," said Not So Big One. "What?" The enormous crocodile grinned, showing hundreds of sharp white teeth. "For my lunch today," he said, "I would like a nice, juicy child." "I never eat children," said Not So Big One. "Only fish." "Oh," cried the enormous crocodile, "I'll bet if you saw a fat, juicy little child paddling in the water over there at this very moment, you'd gulp him up in a gallop." "No, I wouldn't," said Not So Big One. "Children are too tough and chewy. They are tough and chewy and nasty and bitter." "Tough and chewy," cried the enormous crocodile. "Nasty and bitter? What awful tommy rot you talk. They are juicy and yummy." "They taste so bitter," said Not So Big One. "You have to cover them with sugar before you can eat them." "Children are bigger than fish," said Enormous Crocodile. "You get bigger helpings." "You are greedy," said Not So Big One. "You are the greediest croc in the whole river." "I am the bravest croc in the whole river," said the enormous crocodile. "I'm the only one who dares to leave the water and go through the jungle to town to look for little children to eat." "You've only done that once," snorted Not So Big One. "And what happened then? They all saw you coming and they ran away." "Ah, but today when I go, they won't see me at all," said Enormous Crocodile. "Of course they'll see you," said Not So Big One. "You are so enormous and ugly, they'll see you from miles away." The enormous crocodile grinned again, and his terrible sharp teeth sparkled like knives in the sun. "Nobody will see me," he said, "because this time I've thought up secret plans and clever tricks." "Clever tricks!" cried the Not So Big One. "You've never done anything clever in your life. You're the stupidest croc in the whole river." "I'm the cleverest croc on the whole river," said the enormous crocodile. "For my lunch today, I shall feast upon a fat, juicy little child while you lie here in the river feeling hungry. Goodbye." The enormous crocodile swam to the other side of the river and crawled out of the water. A gigantic creature was standing in the slimy, oozy mud on the riverbank. It was Humpty Rumpty the hippopotamus. "Ho, ho!" said Humpty Rumpty. "Where on earth are you off to this time of day?" "I have secret plans and clever tricks," said the crocodile. "Oh dear," said Humpty Rumpty. "I bet you're off to do something horrible." The enormous crocodile grinned at Humpty Dumpty and said, "I'm going to fill my hungry, empty tummy with something yummy, 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 yummy." "What's so yummy?" asked Humpty Dumpty. "Try to guess," said the crocodile. "It's something that walks on two legs." "You don't mean," said Humpty Dumpty, "you don't really mean you're going to eat a little child?" "Of course I am," said the crocodile. "Oh, you horrid, greedy, grumptuous beast!" cried Humpty Dumpty. I hope you get caught and cooked and turned into crocodile soup." The enormous crocodile laughed out loud at Humpty Dumpty. Then he waddled off into the jungle. There's Humpty Dumpty. Inside the jungle, he met Trunky the elephant. Trunky was nibbling leaves from the top of a tall tree, and he didn't notice the crocodile at first. So the crocodile bit him on the leg. "Ow!" said Trunky in his big, deep voice. "Who did that?" "Oh, it's you, is it, you beastly crocodile? Why don't you go back to the big, brown, muddy river where you belong?" "I have secret plans and clever tricks," said the crocodile. "You mean you've got nasty plans and nasty tricks," said Trunky. "You've never done a nice thing in your life." The enormous crocodile grinned up at Chunky and said, "I'm off to find a yummy child for lunch. Keep listening and you'll hear the bones crunch." "Oh, you wicked beastly beast," cried Chunky. "Oh, you filthy and foul fiend. I hope you get squashed and squished and swizzled and boiled up into crocodile stew." The enormous crocodile laughed out loud and disappeared into the jungle. There's Chunky. And there's the crocodile biting him on the leg. A bit farther on, he met Mugglewump the monkey. Mugglewump was sitting in a tree eating nuts. "Hello, Crocky," said Mugglewump. "What are you up to now?" "I have secret plans and clever tricks," said the crocodile. "Would you like some nuts?" said Mugglewump. "I have better things to eat than nuts," said the crocodile. "I didn't think there was anything better than nuts," said Mugglewump. "Ah," said the crocodile. "The sort of things that I'm going to eat have fingers, toenails, arms, legs, and feet." Mugglewump went pale and began to shake all over. "You aren't really going to gobble up a little child, are you?" he said. "Of course I am," said the crocodile, "clothes and all. They taste better with the clothes on." This crocodile is not nice at all. There's Mugglewump. "Oh, you horrid, hoggish croc!" cried Mugglewump. "You slimy creature! I hope the buttons and buckles all stick on your throat and choke you to death." The crocodile grinned up at Mugglewump and said, "I eat monkeys too." And quick as a flash, with one bite of his huge jaws, he bit through the tree that Mugglewump was sitting in, and down it came. But just in time, Mugglewump jumped over into the next tree and swung away through the branches. A bit further on, the enormous crocodile met the roly-poly bird. The roly-poly bird was building a nest in an orange tree. There's the roly-poly bird. "Hello there, enormous crocodile," said the roly-poly bird. "We don't see you often up here in the jungle." "Ah," said the crocodile, "I have secret plans and clever tricks." "I hope it's not something nasty," sang the roly-poly bird. "Nasty!" cried the crocodile. "Of course it's not nasty, it's delicious. It's luscious, it's super, it's muscious, it's duper, it's better than rotten old fish. You mash it, you munch it, you chew it and crunch it. It's lovely to hear it go squish." "Oh, it must be berries," sang the roly-poly bird. "Berries are my favorite food in the world. It's raspberries, perhaps? Or could it be strawberries?" The enormous crocodile laughed so much his teeth rattled together like pennies in a piggy bank. "Crocodiles don't eat berries," he said. "We eat little boys and girls, and sometimes we eat roly-poly birds as well." Very quickly, the crocodile reached up and snapped his jaws at the roly-poly bird. He just missed the bird, but he managed to catch hold of the long, beautiful feathers in its tail. The roly-poly bird gave a shriek of terror and shot straight up in the air, leaving its tail feathers behind in the enormous crocodile's mouth. That crocodile is not a very nice crocodile, is he? All the tail feathers in the mouth. At last, the enormous crocodile came out of the other side of the jungle into the sunshine. He could see the town not far away. "Ho, ho, ho," he said, talking out loud to himself. Ha ha! That walk through the jungle has made me hungrier than ever. One child isn't going to be nearly enough for me today. I won't be full up until I've eaten at least three juicy little children. He started to creep forward to the town. The enormous crocodile crept over to the place where there were a lot of coconut trees. He knew that the children from the town often came here looking for coconuts. The trees were too tall for them to climb, but there was always some coconuts on the ground that had fallen down. The enormous crocodile quickly collected all the coconuts that were lying on the ground. He also gathered several fallen tree branches. Now for clever trick number one, he whispered to himself. It won't be long before I'm eating the first part of my lunch. He took all the coconut branches and held them between his teeth. He grasped the coconuts in his front paws, then he stood straight up in the air, balancing himself on his tail. He arranged the branches and the coconuts so cleverly that now he looked exactly like a small coconut tree standing among the big coconut trees. There's the crocodile gathering up. Can you spy the crocodile tree? That enormous crocodile? Soon two children came along. They were brother and sister. The boy was called Toto. His sister was called Mary. They walked around looking for fallen coconuts, but they couldn't find any because the enormous crocodile had gathered them all up. Oh, look, cried Toto. That tree over there is much smaller than the others, and it's full of coconuts. I think I could climb that one quite easily if you'll help me up on the first part. Toto and Mary ran toward what they thought was a small coconut tree. The enormous crocodile peered through the branches, watching them as they came closer and closer. He licked his lips. He began to dribble with excitement. Suddenly there was a tremendous whooshing noise. It was Humpty Rumpty the hippopotamus. He came crashing and snorting out of the jungle. His head was down low, and he was galloping at terrific speed. Look out, Toto, shouted Humpty Rumpty. Look out, Mary. That's not a coconut tree. It's the enormous crocodile, and he wants to eat you up. Humpty Rumpty charged straight at the enormous crocodile. He caught him with his giant head and sent him tumbling and skidding over the ground. Owie! Cried the crocodile. Help! Stop! Where am I? Toto and Mary ran back to the town as fast as they could. At that moment, there was a flash of brown, and something jumped into the playground and hopped up onto the top of the swings. Oops, I skipped a page. But the crocodiles are tough. It was difficult for even a hippopotamus to hurt them. The enormous crocodile picked himself up and crept toward the place where the children's playground was. Now for clever trick number two, he said to himself. This one is certain to work. There were no children in the playground at that moment. They were all at school. The enormous crocodile found a large piece of wood and placed it in the middle of the playground. Then he lay across the piece of wood and tucked his feet in so that he looked exactly like a seesaw. He does look like a seesaw, huh? When school was over, all the children came running to the playground. Oh, look, they cried, we got a new seesaw. They all crowded around, shouting with excitement, I'll go first. I'll get on the other end. I want to go first. So do I, so do I. Then a girl who was older than the others said, it's a rather funny, knobbly sort of seesaw, isn't it? Do you think it'll be safe to sit on? Of course it will, said the others. It looks strong as anything. The enormous crocodile opened one eye just a tiny bit and watched the children who were crowding around him. Soon, he thought, one of them is going to sit on my head, and I will give a jerk and snap, and after that, it will all be yum, yum, yum. At that moment, there was a flash of brown. Oh, here's a picture. At that moment, there was a flash of brown, and something jumped into the playground. and hopped up onto the top of the swings. It was Mugglewump the monkey. "Run!" Mugglewump shouted to the children. "All of you, run, run, run! This is not a seesaw. It's the enormous crocodile, and he wants to eat you up." The children screamed and ran for their lives. The Mugglewump disappeared back into the jungle, and the enormous crocodile was left all alone on the playground. He cursed the monkey and waddled back into the bushes to hide. "I'm getting hungrier and hungrier," he said. "I shall have to eat at least 4 children now before I'm full up." The enormous crocodile crept around the edge of town, taking great care not to be seen. He came to the place where they were getting ready to have a fair. There were slides and swings and dodgem cars and people selling popcorn and cotton candy. There was also a big merry-go-round. The merry-go-round had a marvelous wooden creatures for the children to ride on. There were white horses and lions and tigers and mermaids with fishtails and fearsome dragons with red tongues sticking out of their mouths. "Now for clever trick number 3," said the enormous crocodile, licking his lips. When no one was looking, he crept up onto the merry-go-round and put himself between a wooden lion and a fearsome dragon. He sat up a bit on his back legs and he kept very still. He looked exactly like a wooden crocodile on a merry-go-round. Soon all sorts of children came flocking into the fair. Some of them ran toward the merry-go-round. They were very excited. "I'm going to ride the dragon," cried one. "I'm going to ride the lovely white horse," cried another. "I'm going on a lion," cried a third. And one little girl, whose name was Jill, said, "I'm going to ride that funny old wooden crocodile." The enormous crocodile kept very still, but he could see the little girl coming toward him. "Yummy, yum, yum," he thought. "I'll gulp her up in one gulp." Suddenly there was a swish and a whoosh, and something came swishing and swooshing out of the sky. It was the roly-poly bird. He flew round and round the merry-go-round, singing, "Look out, Jill! Look out! Look out! Don't ride the crocodile!" Jill stopped and looked up. "That's not a wooden crocodile," sang the roly-poly bird. "It's a real one, the enormous crocodile from the river, and he just wants to eat you up." Jill turned and ran. So did all the other children. Even the man who was working the merry-go-round jumped off it and ran away as fast as he could. The enormous crocodile cursed the roly-poly bird and waddled back into the bushes to hide. "Oh, I'm so hungry now," he said. "I could eat 6 children before I'm full up." Just outside of town, there was a pretty little field with trees and bushes all around it. It was called the picnic place. There were several wooden tables and long benches, and people were allowed to go there and have a picnic at any time. The enormous crocodile crept over to the picnic place. There was no one in sight. "Now for clever trick number 4," said the enormous crocodile to himself. He picked a lovely bunch of flowers and arranged it on one of the tables. From the same table, he took away one of the benches and hid it in the bushes. Then he put himself in the place where the benches had been. By tucking his head under his chest and by twisting his tail out of sight, he made himself look very much like a long wooden bench with legs. Soon 2 boys and 2 girls came along carrying baskets of food. They were all from one family, and their mother had said they could go out and have a picnic together. "What table shall we sit at?" said the one. "Let's take the table with the lovely flowers on it," said the other. The enormous crocodile kept quiet as a mouse. "I shall eat all of them," he said to himself. "They will come and sit on my back, and I will swizzle my head around, and after that it'll be squishy, crunchy up." Would you sit on that bench? Suddenly, a big, deep voice from the jungle said, "Stand back, children, stand back." The children stopped and stared at the place where the voice was coming from. Then, with a crashing of branches, Trunky the elephant came rushing out of the jungle. "That's not a bench you're going to sit on," he bellowed. "It's the enormous crocodile, and he wants to eat you all up." Trunky trotted over to the spot where the enormous crocodile was standing, and quick as a flash, wrapped his trunk around the crocodile's tail and hoisted him up in the air. "Hey, let me go!" yelled the enormous crocodile, who was now dangling upside down. "Let me go, let me go!" "No," said Chunky, "I will not let you go. We've all had quite enough of your clever tricks." Chunky began to swing the crocodile round and round in the air. At first he swung him slowly, and then he swung him faster and faster and faster still. Soon the enormous crocodile was just a blurry circle going round and around in Chunky's head. Suddenly, Chunky let go of the crocodile's tail, and the crocodile went shooting high into the sky like a huge green rocket. Up, up, up he went, higher and higher, faster and faster. He was going so fast and so high that soon the earth was just a tiny dot below. He whizzed on and on. He whizzed far into outer space. He whizzed past the moon. He whizzed past the stars and planets until at last, with the most tremendous bang, the enormous crocodile crashed head first into the hot, hot sun, and he was sizzled up like a sausage. The end. The enormous crocodile. So it seems like a silly story about a crocodile, doesn't it? But I think there's some pretty cool things. It might be kind of scary to think that a crocodile wants to eat kids, but then as you read the book, you find out that there's animals in the forest, the elephant and roly-poly bird and Mugglewump the monkey, who are a little bit afraid of the crocodile and his bullying ways, but who stand up and protect the children. And I think that's a really important message. You don't have to be afraid of bullies. And if we all stand together against bullies, we just might have kindness win the day. Which brings us to the message, lead with kindness today. Look out for those you love. Look out for those who can't protect themselves. And look out for those who could use a helping hand. That's leading with kindness. So today's Wednesday. Usually guest stars come in today, and I'm pretty privileged to be able to read today. Thanks for listening. And as always, Mariposa, there's our information. Can always use a couple tax-deductible donations if you happen to have them. And conveniently, we have a partnership with Patreon, where you can join Patreon and for just as little as $5 a month, support Mariposa, so we can continue to bring you awesome children's programming, and we can't wait to see it in real life, face-to-face, offering our great classes and our fabulous cabarets. And in the meantime, story time every day here at 10, and on Saturdays, 11 o'clock for our sing-along with Miss Kristen. We'll see you next week. Oh, Friday, Winnie the Pooh.